Do you think that you know everything about Christchurch?
When was the last time you've gone out on a walk in your neighbourhood for more than 20 minutes?
We actually do not know much about our very own city.
Introducing Christchurch 360 Trail, 135 kilometers long. It goes in a loop around the whole city. It can be started from any point, and it can be done in both anti-clockwise and clockwise direction.
Both of us have walked this trail 2 years ago, and we are thrilled to be able to walk again with the founder, Dr Colin Meurk, and 12 other enthusiastic participants. Join us on this epic adventure of the 360 Trail. The first day is 18.2 kilometers. We walked from the gondola to Horsewell Quarry Park. We started off by going up the hill on the gondola. When we reached the top, we were delighted to be welcomed by the native pipit bird. When we passed by the Canterbury Pioneer Women's Memorial, it transported me back to the time where the pioneering Canterbury women and their family rested after their climb from Littleton Port. They would gaze upon the plains of Canterbury in awe where they were going to make their home. Throughout the day, we saw breathtaking, million-dollar views. From afar, the Port Hills may look like it is all introduced gauze and broom, but as we walk, we see many seedlings and native plants growing in the midst of the introduced plants. One day, we hope that the native seedlings will grow up into a tall forest. The second day is 16.1 kilometers. We'll be walking from Horsewell Quarry to Riccarton Bush. A special moment about day 2 was when we were welcomed into houses that had their gardens full of native plants. This inspired me and showed me that even your own garden can have native plants. And I also saw native birds and insects roaming the area because their food was provided there. We passed by a historical cemetery called Mount Magdala, and I realized that in the past, this was a Catholic self-sufficient community that housed 500 people. I bet you didn't know that. We also crossed the Apawaho Divide. This divide is very special, as when there's a divide, there's a mountain separating the two rivers. But this divide is different, as the divide is only 24 meters above sea level, not even close to the size of a mountain. Who would have thought this railroad track is a divide? We ended off day 2 at Riccarton Bush. We take Riccarton Bush for granted. I was very touched to find out that the Dean family put in a lot of effort into preserving Riccarton Bush. 2 times in the early days the fires came close to the bush, but Jane Dean planted introduced trees around the native plants to protect them from the fire. On John Dean's deathbed, he asked his wife Jane Dean to make sure that Riccarton Bush was going to be preserved forever. The third day is 7.5 kilometers. We'll be walking from Riccarton Bush to Maclean's Island. At the University of Canterbury, we got to see Kate Shepherd's house. I was in awe when I found out how she supported and led New Zealand to become the first ever country to let women vote. A fun fact that I learnt was that she was one of the first women to ride the bicycle. At the university, we also saw the community garden. These gardens are all over the city, and the community plants and harvests from the gardens. Anyone, even you, can go. Another highlight from the day was that there were so many parks connected to each other. One of the members walking exclaimed, "I didn't know Christchurch had so many parks joined together." Something I really liked about this day was that there was a very beautiful small fruit called leafless pahuihui. The fourth day is 18.8 kilometers long, and it goes from Maclean's Island to Clearwater. A major part of day 4 was walking beside the Waimakariri River. This river is special as it is braided. Braided rivers are unique in the world, and Christchurch has the most braided rivers in New Zealand. We usually walked on stop banks when we were walking close to the river. Stop banks around Waimakariri River help to stop Christchurch from flooding. Originally, Christchurch was a riverbed. If we didn't have these stop banks, Christchurch would become part of the Waimak River. While we were walking through the sanctuary, I learned about Rotary, which is the sponsor of 360 Trail. They helped to plant some of the plants at the sanctuary. I also felt like a bird whisperer as the phantoms followed us everywhere and even perched on the end of my hiking stick. Near the end of the day, I was amazed when Colin Meurk, the ecologist, pointed out a very rare species. It is so rare that it is only found in 2 known wild locations in New Zealand. This plant is called red azolla or Azolla rubra. Just to back up how great the trail is, here is what one of the walkers has to say.
我每一天都喜欢，因为它是不同的体验，跟我们平时看到的那个视野，看到的是不同的景观，所以我还很期待明天是什么样的。我们很多未知的东西，感觉像在探索之旅，是有一点像冒险之旅，因为很多东西我都没有想象过，这种跨栏杆呐什么的，好像变野了。
The 5th day is 10.3 kilometers, from the Clearwater Resort to Spencer Park. We started at Groins at the start of the day. Do you know why the park is named the Groins? It's named the Groins because they're cross banks, usually at right angles to the stop banks that parallel the river in order to prevent erosion. It was interesting to see Kainga, a Maori village. This town was originally established as a group of fishing huts, then later turned into a small residential area. We enjoyed the challenge of stream crossing at Styx River. We spotted a pile of sticks at Brooklyn's Lagoon. It may look like a random structure to you, but it's called the Shack of Remembrance. It was built to remember past loved ones. Brooklyn's Lagoon is home to many species. Around 100 types of birds have been spotted here. We all got our binoculars out and looked at the birds from the bird hide. The highlight of the day was spotting the beautiful native green-blue-black kingfisher from the bird hide at Brooklyn's Lagoon. The 6th day is 15.9 kilometers. We will be walking from Spencer Park to Pages Road. We started the day off by taking a funny group picture here, showing off all of the gear and equipment needed to walk the 360 trail. We walked along a quiet sandy beach right next to Bottle Lake Forest Park. This beach was my favorite scenery out of the whole walk. I loved how quiet it was, and it was a perfect picture spot. After we enjoyed the beach, we took a shady pine tree forest walk. It was fascinating to get down on our knees and see the abundant little lichens and fungus that we wouldn't have noticed if we weren't with our leader, Colin Meurk. Bright green praying mantis greeted us when we entered the Travis wetland. In the past, the council was actually planning to turn the wetland into a multi-million-dollar residential suburb. However, Colin Meurk and Anne Flanagan protested to prevent the wetland from turning into a residential suburb. It was a 10-year struggle for them in order to convince the council that the wetland was worth keeping. An interesting fact is that the Travis wetland sank by 10 centimeters during the 2011 earthquakes. Many trees died because their roots were drowned in water. Imagine if there were homes for 5,000 people on the wetland. They will all be destroyed and even more lives will be lost. We are forever grateful for them for standing up for their belief that the Travis wetland should stay as a wetland. The wetland is home to many native species, like this native eel here trying to bite the GoPro. The highlight of the day was filming the eel in the GoPro. We were a bit scared to film this as the eels could have bit our fingers off. The 7th day is 19.8 kilometers. We will be walking from Pages Road to Nicholson's Park. We started off the day by walking on the side of the oxidation ponds. Oxidation ponds is where the sewage, your number 1 and your number 2, gets processed into seawater. This part of the trail is not yet open to the public. However, we were very fortunate to have Rodney from the City Council who guided us through this trail. As the birds in the oxidation ponds were scared of us, we learned that if we walk like penguins with our arms stuck to the side of us, we won't scare the birds away. It must have been a funny sight for the birds to see. We saw many birds such as the godwit, heron, pied-stites, stags, and many more. In the future, we hope that we are able to turn this part of the trail into a dog-free sanctuary on the side of the estuary with the trail through the coastal forest as we see here, between the ponds and estuary, hiding the walkers from the birds on either side and preventing disturbance for them. The highlight of the day was the sunset that we saw. Some of us even got to see the green flash. Green flash is a natural phenomenon when the sun rays appear green for less than 2 seconds. The people who saw it said it was the best green flash they had ever seen. Definitely a physically exhausting day, but the ocean views and the sunset was worth it. The 8th day is 16.1 kilometers. We will be walking from Nicholson's Park to the gondola. We started off the morning by seeing beautiful stretches of the ocean against the brown tussocky hills while we climbed up, up and up. It was interesting to see the gun emplacements near Godley Head. They were used during World War II to defend against warships coming to Christchurch. While we were having lunch at the side of the track, some of our trail members were engrossed in the iNaturalist City Nature Challenge, where they took photos of plants to help science. Colin found a rare species at a lunch spot. We continued walking up until we reached the highest point of the circuit, Mount Pleasant, 500 meters above sea level. The highlight of the day was definitely the sense of accomplishment at the cake, and the cake at the end of the day. Let me show you why you should do the trail.
I think this walk should be done by all young people in Christchurch. I think it should be even part of the school curriculum. And I would really recommend that if anyone gets the chance that they go for it.
I think it's an epic adventure and it's a really great walk, a truly great walk that all New Zealanders should experience because if you can't experience this, you're missing out so much.
Just experience Christchurch. It's just another dimension. It's just absolutely amazing.
Well, I think that this is the greatest walk that I have done. So if I compare it to the great walks in New Zealand, things like the Hollyford or the Milford, the diversity of the experience is just second to none.
What I've learnt is that we have so many reserves I never knew about.
And it's just wonderful. It's been a wonderful exploration and a great bunch of people, and we've had a lot of fun.
You don't have to be super fit, you just have to be persistent. And if you like the environment and the botany and the biology of the Canterbury area, it's a really wonderful trip.
I hope that you got a new sense of what Otautahi Christchurch actually is.
Absolutely.
And that we need to go out and spread the word and tell the world, you know, what an amazing place we are and what amazing people we are.
For more information, check out the 360 Trail website and Facebook page.